Greetings and welcome to Theology 1 in the fall semester of 2017. This is Dr. Strickland, live from a hotel in Atlanta, where I just wanted to drop you guys a quick note and just take a quick run through the syllabus to give you an introduction to our class this fall. A couple of quick just ideas and concepts that I want to try to get across even before marching through the syllabus is that it's an honor to be your professor this semester. I mean, I do count it as a privilege and a calling by God to be a part of what's going on at Southeastern Seminary, where we are equipping students to serve the church, to fulfill the Great Commission, and also at the college at Southeastern. We're doing a lot of wonderful God-honoring work there, equipping students to go and sort of be the light of the gospel in every sphere of God's world. And so just a couple of quick notes. One, I hope that this class is not just a component of fulfilling the requirements for a degree. My hope is that this is an act of worship for you, that you can truly say at the end of the semester that you can worship God more accurately and more holistically because you have been enriched with a better understanding of who our God is. And so with that, with this sort of doxological imperative that we're talking about, I really do hope that this is a transformational experience for you as well. Oftentimes we are under the assumption that when we're in a college or seminary classroom that we're just transferring information from my head or my notes to you. That happens as a part of the educational process, but moreover, what we're after is for you to be transformed holistically into a person that God uses for his purposes and for his glory and for his kingdom's sake. So that's really what we're after. And so not only will you be challenged in your reading and in your writing and in the lectures and in our interaction one with another in class, intellectually, no doubt, but there will be elements of the course and there will be things that happen in your life this semester that will definitely shape you as a person and make you into a person that's usable for God's purposes. And so with that, also understand that seminary and college does happen within the context of life, within the context of family, and then church life and service and all these other hats that we wear. And so let's be mindful of that, not sacrificing our families on the altar of our education, if we do have those families, especially those who have wife and kids, but also understanding that the Lord will utilize this time, if you are a good steward of it, to the degree he chooses to, as you are preparing for what God has you to do. So a couple of quick things. One, office hours. My office is in Stevens Mackey, 137. And so I don't have office hours posted. The reason why is because due to my administrative job as Associate Vice President for Kingdom Diversity Initiatives, I often end up on the road as I am right now. But with that said, I do take very quick trips. And if you email me or if you email Melody Bush at mbush@scbts.edu, we always prioritize my students and having time to talk about life, time to talk about lecture content, the reading, and also just even your paper as that begins to roll around. It actually will roll around fairly quickly. So please do note that even if you don't see office hours posted, I always meet with students, and there is ample time for me to be able to do that. So you guys are a priority for me as you're in my class. And so anyway, let's go ahead and march through the syllabus. This is a cross-listed course. We have college students and seminary students. Some of the assignments will differ, as I'll note as we're marching through. As I mentioned, Melody Bush is my faculty secretary. If you walk into Stevens Mackey first floor east, which is where my office is, you'll find her sitting there, and you'll be able to interact with her if you have any questions about the course or meeting with me or what have you. Alex DePrima, who's a PhD student in historical theology, he is the grader for the semester, and he's done a fantastic job for me in recent semesters, and I'm grateful to have him on board for the class this semester. Looking down to course information, we have readings and we have quizzes and we have exams and we have a writing component. And so, first of all, my use for our readings is basically we're going to read every week in preparation for the lecture that we will have. And so the reading will help us with the immediate lecture that you're going to walk into. The way I relate the reading to the coursework is this. I see us as reading to get the fundamental elements of what it means to deal and grapple with a topic that's at hand. And then when we come into the classroom, what we're doing is that we are going to then work with the tools that were given in the book. And so there's times where we will parallel with what's going on in the text that you're reading in the Aiken or Tennant book. But for the most part, we will begin to build and interact with contemporary issues with a theological foundation that's provided for us in that text. And so that's the reading for the course. And then to ensure that we are reading and doing so with a high capacity and what have you, we have closed book quizzes each week. These will be delivered on Moodle. And so each week you'll see that there's a quiz on Moodle. Each quiz is 10 points. There are 12 quizzes. And at the end of the semester, we'll drop your lowest 2 grades. And so if you have an off week, if you have an emergency, if you have something that goes a little bit squirrely in your life, rest assured that there is grace built into the syllabus in the form of 2 dropped quizzes. And so my admonition to you is if you have one of those crazy weeks, take the quiz anyway. You might just end up doing decently well, and then you might be able to save one or both of those drops for other weeks where you just don't perform as well as you'd like to have. So that's the quizzes. Exams will have a midterm and a final. They respectively comprise, well, let me see, I think they comprise 50 or 20% of your grade. Let me see if my math is correct on that. I think I think they actually are each 20. Yeah, the midterm is 20%, and then the final is 20% of your grade. And so we'll talk about more particulars about that in just a moment. There's a writing component for the seminary students. It's a theological integration paper. For the undergraduate students, it's a book review. The reason why these assignments are different because there's 2 distinct types of skills that we're trying to develop within the graduate students, and then a distinct type of skill we're trying to develop in the undergraduate students. And I'll talk about how those assignments will flesh out in just a moment. Course textbooks. There's a Daniel Aiken, a Theology for the Church, and make sure you get the revised edition. It's green. If you have the actual book itself, it's published by B&H Academic, and that's in 2014. If you have the previous edition, then you'll be scrambling to find out which chapters and which pages we're actually reading, because the way that I have done the pages on the syllabus are commensurate with the revised edition. Then you'll also see that we have the Timothy C. Tennant book, Theology in the Context of Global Christianity, and that massively long subtitle that I'm not even going to try right now, published in 2007. That will be a massive, massive gift to you guys to read. I love that book, and so I hope it's beneficial for you. So this is Theology 1. In the future or next semester, we'll have Theology 2. And both of these books will carry you through Theology 1 and Theology 2. And so I try to do that in such a way that you are not paying for multiple books and for multiple semesters, but we will stay with those 2 texts, both in Theology 1 and Theology 2. So as far as the grading scale, it's pretty stock for Southeastern. There is a late policy. Every day that work is late, it'll be penalized a letter grade. And if you have some extenuating circumstances that are extenuating, please let me know. And I say extenuating twice intentionally because sometimes things that we deem extenuating are actually our fault. So I was redundant on purpose. So if you have something that is extenuating, extremely unplanned, please let me know. I try to work with you because I do understand that, again, education happens in the course of life. So although that late policy is there for those who haven't done the work on time because of their own for whatever reason, there's some grace there. So grading scale is pretty stock, as I said. Course schedule. Looking through here, we have the readings that will be quizzed each week. Then it has a small sort of topic that we're going through. There are several elements that we'll be talking about in just a moment with the writing project. On the right, there are the lecture topics. Please note that on week 7, it has a dash because there was no lecture scheduled for that day because it was the midterm. Unfortunately, I have to be out of class on the 18th of September. And because of that, we are going to push the special revelation lecture to the 25th of September and the nature and attributes of God to the 2nd of October. So there actually will be a lecture that will be tested on the week of the midterm. And so as many of you guys might know that by God's grace, I was elected first vice president of the SBC. And so the executive committee is meeting on the September the 18th, and there's no way I could reschedule that. And so thank you for your grace as you're bearing with me in that. So I say that not just to throw that out there for no reason, but to let you know that I'm not just skipping class to go to the beach, because I wouldn't want you to do that either. So all that to say, all the other lectures should be as they are. And if you have any more questions about that, we can discuss that in class. Please do note that on Labor Day weekend, which is September the 4th, it says LD on the syllabus. While there is no lecture in class, I'm going to do a video that I'll post to Moodle about writing. And so on how to write well and write clearly, because that's one skill that we do need to craft well in seminary, because as a theologically informed believer, you will be required and called upon to write at several different levels, even if it's blogs for your church or for your ministry that you're a part of, so that you can be able to articulate theological ideas well. Or if it's, you never know, you might end up writing a book or a chapter of a book, or even a research paper or a book review, which you will this semester. So all that to say that we'll be talking about that then. A quick word about the tenet reading. On chapter 3 of both the seminary and the college syllabus, you'll see a note about that reading. And so that reading will be tested on the midterm and on the final. For the seminary students, you'll have 2 questions based on the parameters that you see in the syllabus. And the first question will come from chapter 1, and the second question will come from chapter 2. On the final, you'll see that there's a chapter or a question on chapter 3 and also chapter 4. For the college, by contrast, you will have a question on chapter 1 for the midterm, and then a question on chapter 4 for the final. And so just make note of that. My suggestion is that you read them over the course of a portion of the semester that you're going to be tested for, and not just leave it to the last minute, but I'll leave that to you. You guys are adults. And so now to the writing component. I'll go over the college book review first. There are some parameters there for you. A couple of quick notes. Email me for approval for your book review, and I'll help. Basically, many of you guys will ask me the question, hey, just give me a book to read. But locating a book that you'd like to review is actually a part of the process. It's a very helpful way of learning how to narrow down a topic, begin to search out different resources. And so I don't give you a list of books specifically because I think it's a very good skill to have to cultivate now, because in the future you'll be looked upon by a variety of people to be able to find literature that's appropriate. And so why not begin that process now? And so 5 to 6 pages, and then I give you a couple notes about the initial citation, introduction, outline that you'll see there. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask during class, and we will talk about that a great deal as the semester turns on. For the seminary students, you have a theological integration paper. There's 3 major steps or components to this. You have the topic approval sheet, and if you look at the course schedule, you'll see when the topic approval sheet is due. and that is on September the 11th. And that topical approval sheet will be comprised of a working title, not your official title, but your working title at that point, a proposed thesis statement, summary of the project, an outline, and a bibliography. The reason why I ask for each of these components because it will really help you to begin to allow your ideas to germinate throughout the course of the semester. And I say working title, proposed thesis statement, and so on, because I will then get those. I will then read each of them, and I'll interact with you on them. And it's without doubt that each time I do this, the papers that result are much more clear and much more concise. And to the point, and grades are ultimately better. And so that's that portion of the paper. There's a writing center appointment that is due. There's a proof that's due to me on the 30th of October. That's pretty self-explanatory. And then the actual submission of the paper is going to be the 20th of November. And so, and throughout the entirety of the semester, please understand that I'm available to you to talk with before in the class break, after class, about your topics. Also, feel free to set up a meeting with me. I'd love to sit and chat with you about that. And so, let's see. Yes, as far as the structure of the theological integration paper, please note the structure that's in the syllabus. It begins on page 4 and concludes on page 5. Failure to include headings will result in a 10-point deduction, and these are strongly recommended headings, primarily because each of these sections allows you to flesh out a thesis in a very productive and fair way. So I'm not constraining you unnecessarily, but these headings will help you to argue well your topic. And there's some tips that I give you in the syllabus about how to write a paper, theological integration paper, and book review. There's a theological integration paper rubric that will allow you to see how we'll be ascertaining your grades. And also for the seminary and college, at the end of the syllabus, there's an appendix for you to glance at there. So thank you for giving me about 18 minutes of your time. I really do hope that this moment just sticking to the syllabus is helpful. Oftentimes, if you have a question about the syllabus, I will refer you lovingly to this video. And I hope it is, again, helpful. I look forward to seeing you Monday at 3:30, Binkley 101, I believe. And we're going to rock and roll this semester in Theology 1. You guys have a blessed day.